They say trust is the foundation of any successful partnership. That when you invest in someone, when you share your knowledge and open doors for them, loyalty should be a given. But what happens when that trust becomes a weapon? When the person you lifted up uses your own hand to push you down? When your greatest act of generosity becomes your biggest mistake? This is a story about mentorship and betrayal. About ambition without conscience. About a woman who gave everything to help someone succeed, only to watch that person steal everything she'd built. This is the story of Rachel Martinez, and the assistant who destroyed her. But before we talk about the betrayal, we need to understand what was taken. Because Rachel Martinez wasn't just any marketing director. She was a legend in her industry. Rachel had spent 12 years at Henderson & Associates, one of Chicago's most prestigious marketing firms. 12 years of 16-hour days. 12 years of pitching, creating, strategizing. 12 years of turning struggling brands into household names. At 38 years old, she was the youngest senior marketing director in the company's 50-year history. She'd won the Advertising Excellence Award 3 times. Her campaigns had generated over $200 million in revenue for her clients. But more than her success, Rachel was known for something else. Something that would ultimately lead to her downfall. She was known for her generosity. Rachel believed in lifting others up. She'd come from nothing, a single mother who'd worked 3 jobs to put Rachel through community college. Rachel knew what it was like to need someone to believe in you, to need a chance. So when she made it to the top, she brought others with her. She mentored junior associates. She recommended talented people for promotions. She shared credit generously. Her team loved her because she never acted like she was better than anyone else. Her colleagues sometimes warned her. "You're too nice, Rachel," they'd say. "You're teaching people to compete with you." Rachel would just smile. "The industry is big enough for all of us," she'd reply. Success isn't a zero-sum game. She genuinely believed that. She had no idea how wrong she was. It was a cold January morning when Jennifer Choi walked into Henderson & Associates for her interview. The position was for an executive assistant to Rachel Martinez. It wasn't glamorous, scheduling meetings, managing correspondence, organizing files. But it was a foot in the door at a top-tier firm. 23 people had applied. Jennifer was candidate number 17. Jennifer was 26 years old. She had an MBA from Northwestern. Her resume was impressive. Internships at major agencies, stellar academic record, glowing recommendations. On paper, she was overqualified for an assistant position. Rachel noticed this immediately. "Why do you want this job?" Rachel asked during the interview. "You could probably get an associate position somewhere else." "Why start as an assistant?" "Because I don't want to just get a job in marketing, Ms. Martinez. I want to learn from the best. I followed your career for years. The Henderson Hotels campaign? The relaunch of Brightstar Electronics? Those weren't just good marketing. They were art." She paused, looking Rachel directly in the eyes. "I could take a job where I'd be one of 20 junior associates, learning nothing, just executing other people's mediocre ideas. Or I could work directly with you. Learn how you think. Understand your process. I'm not looking for a title. I'm looking for a real education. And I'm willing to start at the bottom to get it." Rachel was moved. Here was someone who got it. Someone who understood that real growth comes from apprenticeship, from watching masters at work. She hired Jennifer on the spot. It was the worst decision she ever made. For the first year, everything was perfect. Jennifer wasn't just a good assistant, she was exceptional. She anticipated Rachel's needs before Rachel even voiced them. She stayed late without complaint. She caught errors no one else noticed. She absorbed information like a sponge. Rachel began to trust her completely. And then she began to teach her everything. How to read market research and find the story in the data. How to identify what makes a brand unique. How to pitch to skeptical clients. How to turn a boring product into something people desperately wanted. Jennifer attended every meeting. Shadowed every client call. Reviewed every campaign strategy. Rachel gave her access to everything, all her files, all her research, all her proprietary methods developed over 12 years. They worked together so closely that colleagues started calling Jennifer Rachel's shadow. They'd arrive at the office together. Leave together. Work through lunch together. Rachel started inviting Jennifer to industry events. Introducing her to important contacts. Writing glowing performance reviews that praised her initiative and strategic thinking. They became friends. Rachel told Jennifer about her divorce. About her struggles raising her teenage daughter Emma alone. About her dream of someday starting her own consultancy when she was ready to leave the corporate world. Jennifer listened to all of it, sympathized, shared her own stories, about demanding parents, about feeling pressure to succeed, about wanting to make her own mark on the world. "You're like the little sister I never had," Rachel told her one evening after a successful campaign launch. Jennifer smiled and hugged her. "You're the mentor I always needed. I'm so lucky to work with you." But behind that smile, behind those grateful words, Jennifer's mind was working differently. She wasn't thinking about mentorship or friendship or loyalty. She was thinking about opportunity. She was thinking about how to take everything Rachel had and make it her own. The opportunity came in March, 18 months after Jennifer started. Henderson and Associates landed the biggest account in company history, Project Phoenix. A Fortune 500 tech company needed a complete rebrand. Their image was stale, their market share was shrinking, and they had 3 quarters to turn things around or face a hostile takeover. The contract was worth $15 million. The firm that succeeded would have a case study that would dominate the industry for years. The partners met for 6 hours debating who should lead it. There was never really any question. They needed their absolute best strategist. They needed Rachel Martinez. Rachel threw herself into Project Phoenix with everything she had. For 4 months it consumed her life. She worked 18-hour days. She barely saw her daughter. She skipped meals, lost weight, ran on coffee and determination. But the campaign she was building was brilliant. Genuinely revolutionary. She was creating something that would change how people thought about brand transformation. And through every moment of it, Jennifer was right there beside her. Jennifer took notes on everything. She attended every brainstorming session, every client call, every strategy meeting. She organized all of Rachel's research files. She created backup copies for safety. Rachel appreciated her diligence. She had no idea what was really happening. Because every night after Rachel finally went home to catch a few hours of sleep, Jennifer stayed behind. She copied files to an encrypted drive. She photographed strategy boards. She recorded herself practicing Rachel's presentations. She was studying Rachel the way a forger studies a master painter. Learning not just what Rachel created, but how she thought, how she spoke, how she moved through ideas. Jennifer spent her nights at home dissecting Rachel's work. She broke down every element of the Phoenix strategy. She practiced Rachel's presentation style in front of a mirror. She memorized the inflection Rachel used when she pitched. The way Rachel paused for effect. The way she anticipated objections. She didn't just want to steal Rachel's work. She wanted to become Rachel. Or rather, she wanted to become a better, younger, more impressive version of Rachel. And then, fate handed her the perfect opportunity. It was a Tuesday morning in June. Rachel was in her office, putting final touches on the Phoenix presentation, scheduled for Friday. 3 more days and months of work would finally pay off. Then her phone rang. Emma, her 17-year-old daughter, had been in a car accident. Rachel's world stopped. Nothing else mattered. Not the presentation. Not Project Phoenix. Not her career. Her baby was in the hospital. She grabbed her keys with shaking hands. She was halfway to the door when Jennifer caught her arm. "Rachel, what happened? What's wrong?" "Emma, accident, hospital, I have to." The words came out jumbled. Rachel could barely breathe. Jennifer's face filled with concern. She took Rachel's keys gently from her trembling hands. "Okay, listen to me. You're in no state to drive. Let me call you a car. And don't worry about anything here. I know this project inside and out. You've taught me everything. I'll handle the preparations for Friday. You just focus on Emma." Rachel felt a wave of relief wash over her panic. Jennifer understood. Jennifer would handle it. Jennifer had been with her through every step of this project. "Are you sure? The presentation is in excellent shape because of all your work. I'll just keep everything organized and on track. You've prepared me for this. Now go be with your daughter." Rachel hugged her quickly. "Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you." Jennifer hugged her back. "That's what partners do. Now go." Rachel left. And the moment her car disappeared from view, Jennifer's concerned expression vanished completely. She walked back into the building, took the elevator to the executive floor, and knocked on the door of the managing partner, Thomas Henderson. "Mr. Henderson? I'm sorry to bother you, but we need to talk about Project Phoenix. I've discovered some serious concerns about the current direction, and I think I have a solution." What happened over the next 72 hours was a masterclass in manipulation. Jennifer met privately with every senior partner. She spoke with carefully crafted concern about Rachel's recent struggles. "I'm worried about her," Jennifer told them, her voice heavy with false sympathy. "She's been under tremendous stress. Her divorce was difficult, and now with Emma's accident, I think it's affecting her judgment on Phoenix. She showed them early draft presentations, the ones Rachel had rejected and improved upon, and presented them as Rachel's current plan. "Look at this," Jennifer would say, shaking her head sadly. "This approach is scattered, unfocused, not like Rachel's usual work at all." Then came the coup de grace. Jennifer presented her alternative vision for Project Phoenix. Except it wasn't alternative at all. It was Rachel's final, brilliant strategy, word for word, concept for concept, innovation for innovation. Jennifer had simply changed the name on the title page from "Presented by Rachel Martinez" to "Presented by Jennifer Choi." But she'd been clever about it. She'd positioned it as building on Rachel's initial ideas and taking them in a new direction. She used phrases like, "I was inspired by Rachel's research to explore this angle, and Rachel's foundation allowed me to develop this approach." It sounded like respectful collaboration, like a talented protege expanding on her mentor's work. But it was theft, pure and simple. The partners were stunned. An executive assistant showing this level of strategic thinking? This kind of vision and confidence? Thomas Henderson leaned back in his chair, studying Jennifer with new appreciation. "This is exceptional work, Jennifer. I had no idea you had this kind of talent." Jennifer smiled modestly. "Rachel is an incredible teacher. I've learned so much working with her." Henderson nodded slowly. "Given Rachel's current situation and given that you clearly have command of this material, I think you should present to the Phoenix executives on Friday." Jennifer's eyes widened with perfectly practiced surprise. "Mr. Henderson, I couldn't possibly. This is Rachel's project. She's worked so hard. Rachel has her hands full with family matters. And frankly, Jennifer, your vision here is stronger than what she's been working on. You've earned this opportunity. I'm making you interim project lead for Phoenix." Jennifer protested, just enough to seem humble and loyal, but not enough to actually change their minds. "If you really think it's best for the client," she finally said, "then of course I'll do whatever the firm needs." Henderson smiled. "That's exactly the attitude that's going to take you far here." What none of them knew was that at that exact moment, Rachel was sitting in a hospital waiting room, trying to work on her laptop between checking on Emma. She was sending Jennifer detailed notes for the Friday presentation, asking for updates, making sure everything was on track. And Jennifer responded to every message with perfect professionalism. "Got it. On it. Everything's under control. Don't worry about a thing." Rachel trusted her completely. Even when colleagues texted asking if she knew about changes to the Phoenix presentation, Rachel assumed they were just minor adjustments. Jennifer would never do anything without consulting her. That trust was about to be shattered. Rachel trusted her completely. Even when colleagues texted asking if she knew about changes to the Phoenix presentation, Rachel assumed they were just minor adjustments. Jennifer would never do anything without consulting her. That trust was about to be shattered. By Friday morning, Emma was out of danger. Bruised, with a broken arm, but okay. The doctor said she was lucky. Rachel held her daughter's hand and cried with relief. Then she checked the time. The Phoenix presentation was at 10 a.m. She'd been updating the slides until 4 in the morning, sending everything to Jennifer. "Mom, you should go," Emma said. "I'm fine. Dad's on his way. You've been working on this for months. Don't miss it." Rachel hesitated, then nodded. This presentation was too important. She'd made it back for the final moment of her greatest achievement. She raced back to the office, running on adrenaline and 2 hours of sleep. She had her presentation notes memorized. Her outfit was wrinkled from 3 days in a hospital chair, but she didn't care. This was Project Phoenix, her masterpiece. She made it to the office at 9:45, 15 minutes to spare. But when she reached the conference room, something was wrong. The door was locked. Through the small window, she could see the Phoenix executives already seated. The presentation had started early. And standing at the head of the table, confident and polished in a designer suit, was Jennifer. Rachel's blood went cold. She tried the door. Locked. She knocked. Nobody turned. The room was soundproofed for confidential client meetings. A junior associate walked by. Rachel grabbed his arm. "What's going on? Why is Jennifer presenting?" "That's my project." The associate looked deeply uncomfortable. "Rachel, didn't Henderson tell you?" There was a change in direction. "Jennifer's leading the presentation. They thought it would be better given your situation." Rachel felt the world tilt sideways. "What situation?" "My daughter was in an accident. I've been working on this for 4 months. I need to get in there. The room's locked for the presentation. Henderson's orders. I'm sorry, Rachel. Maybe talk to him after? And then the associate hurried away, leaving Rachel standing alone in the hallway. Rachel pressed her face to the small window. Through the glass, she watched Jennifer present her work, her ideas, her strategy, her months of sleepless nights and brilliant insights. Jennifer stood at the head of that conference table with perfect poise, speaking Rachel's words, showing Rachel's slides, making Rachel's arguments. She moved through the presentation with confidence, fielding questions, building rapport with the Phoenix executives. And they were eating it up. The CEO of Phoenix was nodding enthusiastically. The CMO was taking notes. Thomas Henderson sat at the side of the room with an expression Rachel had never seen directed at anyone else, pure pride. Rachel stood there for the full hour. She watched Jennifer receive the applause at the end. Watched the Phoenix executives stand to shake her hand. Watched Henderson clap Jennifer on the back like a proud father. She watched her entire career, her entire life's work, stolen in front of her eyes. And there was nothing she could do. When the meeting finally ended and the door opened, executives filed out, still congratulating Jennifer. Rachel tried to push through to Henderson. Tom, we need to talk. That presentation. Henderson barely glanced at her. Rachel, I'm glad you made it back. We'll debrief later. Right now, we need to take the Phoenix team to lunch. He turned back to the clients. Gentlemen, right this way. And they walked past her. All of them, including Jennifer. For just a moment as Jennifer passed, their eyes met. And Rachel saw something in Jennifer's expression that made her stomach drop. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't apologetic. It was triumph. Cold, calculated triumph. Jennifer leaned in close as she walked by and whispered, so quietly only Rachel could hear, "Thanks for everything you taught me." Then she was gone, following the executives to lunch. Rachel stood alone in that hallway, her whole body shaking. She felt like she was going to throw up. Or scream. Or both. Everything she'd worked for. Everything she'd built. Everything she'd given. Gone. Stolen by someone she trusted. Someone she'd helped. Someone she'd treated like family. She walked to her office on autopilot. Sat down at her desk. Stared at her computer screen without seeing it. And for the first time in her professional life, Rachel Martinez had absolutely no idea what to do. Rachel tried to fight. She went to Henderson's office that afternoon and told him everything. How she developed the entire Phoenix strategy. How Jennifer had just presented her work. How this was theft. Henderson listened with growing impatience. Rachel, I understand you're upset. But these are serious accusations. Do you have proof that Jennifer stole your work? Rachel pulled up her files. But Jennifer had been too careful. All the original work was on the company server, and the access logs showed both their names. The email chains showed Jennifer contributing ideas. Ideas that were actually Rachel's, cleverly fed back in ways that made Jennifer look collaborative. There was no smoking gun. No definitive proof. All I see here is normal collaboration between a director and her assistant, Henderson said coldly. Jennifer's been working on Phoenix alongside you for months. She clearly absorbed your teaching and developed her own strategic voice. That's what mentorship looks like, Rachel. This isn't mentorship. She stole. Enough. Henderson's voice was sharp. I'm disappointed in you, Rachel. Jennifer gave a brilliant presentation. Instead of being proud of what she learned from you, you're trying to tear her down. Frankly, it sounds like professional jealousy. Rachel couldn't believe what she was hearing. Professional jealousy? Tom, I've been at this firm for 12 years. I've won awards. I've brought in millions of dollars. And Jennifer brought in a $50 million account with a presentation that blew the client away. Maybe you should focus less on whose idea was whose and more on learning from her success. Rachel left his office in a daze. It was like living in an alternate reality, where up was down, where black was white, where theft was celebrated and the victim was blamed. The weeks that followed were a nightmare. Jennifer was promoted to junior director. She got Rachel's best projects reassigned to her. She got invited to pitch meetings Rachel should have led. Meanwhile, Rachel found herself frozen out. Colleagues who used to seek her advice started avoiding her. Clients she'd worked with for years asked for that brilliant young woman who did Phoenix. The industry press published glowing profiles of Jennifer. Rising star at Henderson and Associates. The strategic mind behind Project Phoenix. Meet the youngest director in Chicago marketing. Every article was a knife in Rachel's heart. And every single one credited Jennifer as the sole creator of strategies Rachel had developed. Rachel tried to correct the record. She reached out to journalists explaining the truth. But Jennifer had covered her tracks too well. Without proof, it just looked like sour grapes from a bitter older colleague threatened by a rising star. One journalist actually said to Rachel, "Look, I understand you feel overlooked. But trying to take credit for your assistant's success isn't a good look." Rachel stopped trying to fight. What was the point? 3 months after the Phoenix presentation, Rachel was called in for her performance review. She knew it wouldn't be good. She'd been going through the motions, too devastated to care. But she wasn't prepared for what Henderson told her. "Rachel, we need to discuss your future at the firm. Your recent performance has been concerning. You've missed deadlines. Your client satisfaction scores have dropped. Several people have reported that you seem distracted and hostile." Rachel almost laughed. Hostile. Of course she seemed hostile. She'd been betrayed by her protégé and gaslit by her bosses. "We're restructuring the department," Henderson continued. "Jennifer's taking on a more senior role, and we need to make some adjustments. We're prepared to offer you a generous severance package. 6 months' salary. A neutral reference. A clean departure. You're firing me. We're facilitating a transition that's best for everyone." Rachel looked at him across that desk. This man she'd made millions of dollars for. This firm she'd given 12 years of her life to. And she realized they'd already decided. Maybe weeks ago. Maybe the moment Jennifer presented her stolen work and they saw someone younger, cheaper, and easier to control. She signed the papers. What else could she do? Fight and lose her severance? Drag this out and have to see Jennifer every day? She was done. Finished. Defeated. On her last day, she packed her office in silence. Colleagues who'd worked with her for years barely said goodbye. It was like she'd already been erased. As she carried her box to the elevator, her phone buzzed with an email. From Jennifer. "Rachel, I'm sorry things ended this way. I want you to know that I'm truly grateful for everything you taught me. You were an incredible mentor. You taught me so much about strategy, about client relations, about how to succeed in this industry. You also taught me something you didn't intend to. In business, nice people finish last. The world belongs to people willing to take what they want. Thank you for the lesson. And for your career. I'll put it to good use. Best, Jennifer." Rachel stood in that elevator, staring at her phone, and felt something shift inside her. For months, she'd been drowning in betrayal and grief and disbelief. But that email, that final, arrogant, needlessly cruel email, cut through it all. And underneath the pain, she found something else. For 2 months, Rachel fell apart. She drank too much wine. She stopped answering calls from friends. She stayed in bed until noon. She questioned everything about herself, her judgment, her intelligence, her worth. Emma watched her mother spiral with increasing worry. Finally, one morning, she'd had enough. "Mom, stop." Rachel looked up from her coffee. Or rather, from the Irish coffee she'd been having every morning for a week. "Stop what?" "Stop feeling sorry for yourself. That woman stole from you. She's probably terrible at the job without you to copy from. Meanwhile you, the actual genius, are sitting here getting drunk before lunch. Emma, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. You taught her everything she knows. Which means you can do everything she's doing. But better. Because it was yours to begin with. So stop acting like she won. She didn't win. She just stole your work. Your actual talent and skill? That's still here. In you." She started small. She reached out to old clients, people she'd worked with before Jennifer came into the picture. People who knew Rachel's actual abilities. "I'm freelancing now," she told them. "If you ever need strategic consulting, I'm available." She took on small projects. One campaign for a local restaurant. A social media strategy for a nonprofit. A rebrand for a startup. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that would make headlines. But she was working again. Creating again. And most importantly, she was watching Jennifer. Rachel stared at her 17-year-old daughter and felt something click. Emma was right. Jennifer had stolen Rachel's work, her ideas, her presentation. But she hadn't stolen Rachel's mind. Her experience. Her 12 years of building relationships and reputation. Her actual ability to do the work. That night, Rachel poured the rest of the wine down the sink. She took a shower. She dug out her laptop. And she started to rebuild. Because Rachel knew something Jennifer didn't understand. You can steal someone's work, but you can't steal their talent. Jennifer had memorized Rachel's presentation. She'd copied Rachel's strategy. But she didn't understand the principles behind them. She didn't have 12 years of experience learning what worked and what didn't. And it showed. Without Rachel to guide her, Jennifer struggled. Her follow-up campaigns for Phoenix were mediocre. Other clients started reporting disappointment. Projects went over budget. Creative ideas fell flat. She looked good in meetings, she'd learned Rachel's presentation style. But when it came to actually doing the strategic work, creating the innovative solutions, she was lost. She was a copy of a master. But not a master herself. 6 months after her departure, Rachel got a call that changed everything. It was from Marcus Webb, the CEO of Phoenix Technologies. They'd worked together years earlier on a different campaign. Before Jennifer. Before any of this. "Rachel, I need to talk to you. Confidentially. Can we meet?" Over coffee the next day, Marcus told her something interesting. "We're not happy with Henderson. The follow-up work has been disappointing. That brilliant strategist who gave the initial presentation? She seems to have been a one-hit wonder. And honestly, Rachel, I ran into Tom Henderson at a conference last month. After a few drinks, he let something slip. He said the Phoenix strategy was actually your work. That Jennifer had presented it, but you developed it. Is that true?" Phoenix didn't just hire her as a consultant. They gave her a 3-year contract worth $20 million. More than the original deal with Henderson. And they dropped Henderson and Associates entirely. The industry news spread like wildfire. Henderson loses Phoenix account. Questions raised about Jennifer Choi's role in original campaign. Rachel Martinez returns with major client win. And once Phoenix chose Rachel, others followed. Because success breeds success. Because Rachel's reputation, the real one built over 12 years, was still there. 3 more of Henderson's major clients reached out. Then 5 more. Then 10. Within 6 months, Rachel had taken $30 million in contracts with her. Not by bad-mouthing Jennifer. Not by publicly demanding credit. Simply by doing what she'd always done. Brilliant work. Rachel didn't just freelance. She built her own agency, Martinez Strategic Consulting. She hired a team of talented people. She created a culture of genuine collaboration and mentorship. But this time she was more careful. This time she recognized the difference between people who wanted to learn and people who wanted to take. And then, one morning, her assistant brought her something interesting. A job application. From Jennifer Choi. Rachel didn't just freelance. She built her own agency, Martinez Strategic Consulting. She hired a team of talented people. She created a culture of genuine collaboration and mentorship. But this time she was more careful. This time she recognized the difference between people who wanted to learn and people who wanted to take. And then, one morning, her assistant brought her something interesting. A job application. From Jennifer Choi. Jennifer had been fired from Henderson. Once Rachel took the Phoenix account and others followed, the firm had cratered. They'd laid off half their staff. Jennifer, the youngest director, had been first to go. And now nobody else would hire her. Because the industry had figured it out. Whispers became conversations, became common knowledge. Jennifer Choi had stolen credit for Rachel Martinez's work. Her reputation was destroyed. Her career was over. She was desperate enough to apply to work for the woman she'd betrayed. Rachel sat in her office for a long time holding that application. She could reject it immediately. She could throw it away. She could call Jennifer in for an interview just to tell her no to her face. Part of her wanted to. Part of her wanted that direct, personal revenge. But Rachel had learned something through all of this. The best revenge wasn't personal. It was success. It was building something so good that the person who betrayed you became irrelevant. She opened her laptop and typed a brief response. "Dear Jennifer, thank you for your interest in Martinez Strategic Consulting. Unfortunately, we have a strict policy of only hiring candidates with proven track records of original thinking, ethical behavior, and genuine talent. Based on your recent professional history, I don't believe you meet our standards. However, I truly wish you the best in finding a position that matches your actual skill level. Perhaps an entry-level role somewhere might be a good fit. After all, everyone has to start somewhere. Sincerely, Rachel Martinez, founder and CEO." She hit send. And felt nothing but peace. No anger. No bitterness. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing she'd won by doing it the right way. Rachel never heard from Jennifer again. But through the industry grapevine, she heard Jennifer had left marketing entirely. Last anyone knew, she was working in a completely different field, in a completely different city, far away from the career she'd stolen and destroyed. 1 year after launching her agency, Rachel stood in her new office space. Martinez Strategic Consulting now had a team of 42 people. They occupied an entire floor of a building in downtown Chicago. She just signed her biggest client yet, a global brand worth $50 million over 5 years. The contract was sitting on her desk, ink still drying. 2 weeks later, Rachel was invited to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Chicago Marketing Association. At 39 years old, she was the youngest person ever to receive it. As she stood at that podium, looking out at hundreds of industry professionals, she thought about everything that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the devastation, the dark months of doubt and depression, the slow, difficult rebuild. And she realized something: Jennifer had actually done her a favor. 2 weeks later, Rachel was invited to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Chicago Marketing Association. At 39 years old, she was the youngest person ever to receive it. As she stood at that podium, looking out at hundreds of industry professionals, she thought about everything that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the devastation, the dark months of doubt and depression, the slow, difficult rebuild. And she realized something: Jennifer had actually done her a favor. For a while that lesson broke me. I questioned everything. My judgment, my generosity, whether being a good person was just being naive. But then I realized something. The person who betrayed me? She didn't win. She got a temporary victory by stealing something I created. But she couldn't steal the ability to create. She couldn't steal 12 years of experience and relationships and reputation. She couldn't steal the actual talent. So she crashed and burned. While I rebuilt, stronger, smarter, more successful than ever. So here's what I want to say tonight. If someone betrays you, if someone steals from you, if someone tries to take credit for your work, let them have that moment. Because moments are temporary. But real skill, real reputation, real relationships built over years, those are permanent. The truth always comes out. Always. And when it does, the people who built their success on theft will fall, while the people who built their success on genuine talent will rise. Don't chase revenge. Don't waste your energy on anger. Just be so good at what you do that the person who wronged you becomes a footnote in your success story. The room erupted in applause. A standing ovation that lasted 3 full minutes. After the ceremony, dozens of people came up to Rachel. Some shared their own stories of betrayal. Others thanked her for the inspiration. Several offered her new business opportunities. And in the middle of it all, Marcus Webb from Phoenix pulled her aside. Rachel, I have to tell you something. When Jennifer presented that original Phoenix strategy, I was impressed. But I also felt something was off. She presented brilliantly, but when we asked follow-up questions, there was something hollow in her answers. Like she was reciting rather than explaining. Then I worked with you on the new strategy and everything clicked. The way you think, the way you build ideas, that's what I saw in the original presentation. Not Jennifer's delivery, but the architecture of the ideas themselves. That was you. Rachel smiled. You know what the funny thing is, Marcus? For a long time, I was so angry that she stole credit for my work. But now, I'm grateful. Because if she hadn't betrayed me, I'd still be at Henderson, making them millions while they undervalued me. She forced me to bet on myself. To build something of my own. So in a weird way, Jennifer Choi did me the biggest favor of my life. She destroyed my comfortable career. And forced me to build an exceptional one. That night, Rachel sat in her office long after everyone else had gone home. She looked at the photo on her desk, her whole team at their company retreat, 42 talented people who believed in the culture she'd built. A culture where credit was shared fairly. Where mentorship was genuine. Where success was collaborative. She thought about Jennifer. Wondered where she was. Whether she'd learned anything. Whether she regretted her choices. Then Rachel realized she didn't actually care. Jennifer was her past. This, her agency, her team, her clients, her success. This was her present and her future. Emma came by to take her to dinner. She was 19 now, home from college for the weekend. She walked through the office impressed. Mom, this is incredible. You built all of this in 2 years. Rachel smiled. We built all of this. This team. These clients. We built it together. Emma hugged her. I'm proud of you. You know that? Not just for the success, but for how you handled everything. You could have been bitter, vengeful. Instead, you just won. As they walked out together, Emma asked, "Do you ever think about her? About Jennifer?" Rachel considered the question. Sometimes. Not as much as I used to. Mostly I just feel sorry for her. Sorry for her? After what she did. Yeah. Because she had a chance to learn from someone who genuinely wanted to help her succeed. She could have built a real career with real skills. Instead, she took a shortcut. And shortcuts never lead anywhere good. She got one big win by stealing my work. But it was the only win she ever had. Because she never learned how to actually do the work herself. She never developed real expertise. She just learned how to fake it. And you can't build a career on faking it. Eventually, people figure it out. Eventually, you're exposed. And then you have nothing. No skills. No reputation. No future. Emma nodded thoughtfully. So what happened to her was really just consequences. Exactly. I didn't have to destroy her. She destroyed herself. Today, 3 years after Jennifer Choi stole her work and destroyed her career, Rachel Martinez runs one of the most successful marketing agencies in the Midwest. Martinez Strategic Consulting has 70 employees. They've won Agency of the Year. They represent Fortune 500 companies. Rachel has been featured in Forbes, Adweek, and The Wall Street Journal. Not as a victim. Not as a cautionary tale. As a success story. She still mentors young professionals. But now, she's learned to recognize the difference between genuine hunger to learn and hungry ambition without conscience. She still believes in generosity and collaboration. But now she protects herself. Trusts carefully. Shares wisely. On her desk, she keeps a photo from Emma's college graduation. Next to it is a small plaque her daughter gave her as a gift. It reads, "Success is the best revenge. But integrity is the best success." Rachel learned that betrayal can break you or make you rebuild yourself stronger. That stolen credit might win a battle, but authentic expertise wins the war. And that sometimes the best revenge isn't crushing your enemy. It's becoming so successful that they become irrelevant. Because in the end, Jennifer Choi didn't take Rachel's career. She borrowed it for a moment. And when you build something on a foundation of lies and theft, it always crumbles. But when you build on truth, on real skill, on genuine relationships and hard-earned expertise, that structure stands forever. Rachel built hers on rock. Jennifer built hers on sand. The storm came. Only one of them survived. The assistant who took the credit learned the hardest lesson in business. You can steal someone's work. You can steal their presentation. You can even steal their moment. But you can't steal their talent. You can't steal their resilience. And you definitely can't steal their comeback. Because the truth always comes out. Justice may be slow, but it's inevitable. And the woman who was betrayed? She didn't just survive. She thrived.